New York City, once a bustling metropolis, now lay in ruins under the weight of a relentless nightmare. Skyscrapers that once touched the sky now stood as broken sentinels, their shattered windows reflecting a somber gray light. The scent of decay lingered in the air, mingling with the distant moans of the undead that echoed through the shattered streets. My family and I huddled in a dimly lit apartment, our fear-laden whispers barely audible amidst the cacophony of the city's decay. The pale light of our flickering candle cast dancing shadows across our faces as we clung to each other, trying to find solace in a world that had been transformed into a living hell. Lily, my daughter, looked up at me with wide, terrified eyes.
Mom, when is this going to end?
Her voice trembled as she voiced the question that had been haunting us all. I held her close, my heart heavy with the weight of uncertainty. I don't know, sweetheart. We're doing our best to stay safe. Mark, my husband, stood by the window, his eyes fixed on the outside world as he scanned the city's remnants through binoculars. We can't stay here forever, he said, his voice a mixture of desperation and determination. We need to find a way out of the city. His words echoed the thoughts that had been swirling in all our minds. The news had been filled with reports of quarantine zones and evacuation centers, but reaching them was a treacherous journey through streets infested with the undead. As night fell, the city's twisted landscape grew even more sinister. The moans of the zombies outside grew louder, a chilling symphony that sent shivers down our spines. We huddled together, the darkness outside punctuated only by the occasional flicker of distant fires. The undead lurked in the shadows, their presence a constant reminder that death had taken hold of our world. Hours stretched on, each one feeling like an eternity. The sounds of our fearful whispers blended with the distant cries of the undead, creating an eerie symphony that encapsulated the city's desolation. The minutes crawled as we waited, held captive by fear and uncertainty. Then a crash shattered the stillness, followed by the sound of shuffling footsteps outside our door. My heart raced, and the room seemed to close in around us as we exchanged fearful glances. The barricade we had constructed using furniture and whatever we could find trembled under the force of the pressure from the other side.
Mom,
what's happening? Lily's voice quivered as she clung to me, her fear mirrored in all our faces. Mark gripped a metal pipe, his knuckles white with tension. We fight, he declared, his voice unwavering. We can't let them in. With a shared nod, we armed ourselves with makeshift weapons and prepared for the inevitable confrontation. The shuffling footsteps grew closer, the barricade straining against the onslaught. With a deafening crash, the barricade gave way. The door burst open, and the room was flooded with the pale light of the moon and the stench of death. The undead surged into the room, their lifeless eyes fixed on us, their outstretched arms grasping for our flesh. We fought with a ferocity born of desperation, our weapons swinging and striking as we pushed back against the relentless horde. The room became a battlefield of survival, the sound of impact and the groans of the undead blending into a nightmarish symphony. The minutes stretched into an eternity as we fought to hold our ground. Sweat dripped down our faces, our muscles aching from the effort, but we refused to yield. We couldn't afford to lose, not when our lives hung in the balance. And then, just as it seemed that the room was closing in on us, a deafening roar cut through the chaos. The horde hesitated, their rotting faces turning towards the broken window. Through the shattered glass, a group of survivors appeared, armed with weapons and resolve. They opened fire, the sound of gunshots reverberating through the room. The undead fell one by one, their bodies crumpling to the ground as the survivors' onslaught cut through the darkness. As the last of the zombies lay motionless, the survivors entered the room, their faces a mix of exhaustion and relief. They introduced themselves as a makeshift group that had banded together in the face of the apocalypse. We've been clearing buildings, creating safe zones, their leader explained, his voice a testament to his determination. You're not alone in this fight. We looked around at the room, the aftermath of our battle strewn across the floor. It was a somber reminder of the horrors we faced, but also a symbol of our resilience. As we joined forces with the survivors, stepping out into the ruined city, we knew that our journey was far from over. The streets of New York had become a battleground, and as we ventured forth, united by our shared purpose, we carried with us a flicker of hope in a world consumed by darkness. The survivors who had rescued us led us through the twisted streets of the decaying city. Every corner turned, every alleyway crossed, was a potential danger, a reminder that the undead could emerge from the shadows at any moment. The once familiar landmarks of New York City were now haunting monuments of the apocalypse. As we moved, our group exchanged stories of survival, our voices a mixture of weariness and determination. The leader, Jack, shared his experience of witnessing the outbreak unfold, the rapid transformation of the city into a hunting ground for the undead. Others recounted close calls and the losses they had suffered, the pain etched in their eyes. "We're heading towards an evacuation center," Jack explained, his voice echoing in the empty streets. "It's our best shot at finding safety and regrouping." The idea of a safe haven felt like a glimmer of hope in a world gone mad. We followed our new companions with a shared sense of purpose, navigating through the wreckage and avoiding open spaces that might expose us to danger. Hours turned into an exhausting journey, the city's silence broken only by the distant sounds of gunfire and the occasional guttural growl of the undead. We moved as a tightly knit group, our senses alert for any signs of movement or threat. At one point, we reached a makeshift barricade manned by survivors armed with weapons. They regarded us with caution, their eyes scanning our group for any sign of danger. After a tense exchange of words, they allowed us to pass through, providing directions and a warning about the challenges that lay ahead. The sun was beginning to set as we entered Central Park, its once lush foliage now a tangled maze of darkness. We moved through the park with a sense of urgency, knowing that the cover of night would bring even greater dangers. It was then that we heard it, a low growl that sent shivers down our spines. We froze in our tracks, weapons at the ready, as a group of zombies emerged from the shadows. Their eyes glowed with an insatiable hunger, their movements synchronized and relentless. With a surge of adrenaline, we fought back, our weapons striking true as we pushed against the horde. The battle was fierce, the sound of gunfire and the sickening thud of impact filling the air. Our group moved in harmony, each member watching the other's back as we faced the unending onslaught. Amidst the chaos, I caught glimpses of Lily, her face a mask of determination as she swung a metal pipe. Mark fought alongside her, his every move calculated and precise. We were a united front, a family forged in the fires of adversity. The battle raged on, the intensity of the struggle threatening to consume us. It felt as if time itself had lost all meaning, the minutes blending into a blur of instinct and survival. We were driven by a primal need to protect one another, to survive the nightmarish ordeal we found ourselves in. And then, as it seemed that the tide of the battle was turning against us, a new group of survivors arrived on the scene. Their arrival was a turning point, their firepower and determination shifting the balance in our favor. The horde was gradually pushed back, their numbers dwindling as the combined efforts of our groups proved effective. As the last of the zombies fell to the ground, the survivors caught their breath, their faces a mixture of exhaustion and relief. We looked around at the faces that had joined us in battle, united by a shared fight for survival. Each one had a story, a journey through the darkness that had led them to this moment. Jack nodded in approval, a grim smile forming on his lips. "We've managed to secure this area," he said, his voice carrying a newfound sense of hope. "It's not much, but it's a foothold in this chaos." As we exchanged introductions and shared our stories, it became clear that we were not alone in our struggle. The city's survivors had banded together, creating pockets of resistance amidst the chaos. The bonds we formed in this apocalyptic landscape were forged by shared hardship, an unbreakable connection that transcended the challenges we faced. With the survivors' guidance, we continued our journey through the city, the destination of the evacuation center within reach. The road ahead was still fraught with danger, but our newfound allies and shared determination gave us strength. As we walked through the ruined streets, I looked back at the skyline, the shattered remnants of buildings that had once defined the city's majesty. The world had changed, and yet, as we walked forward into the unknown, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The journey was far from over, and the dangers ahead were undeniable, but together, we would navigate the darkness, driven by the promise of safety and the unbreakable bonds that had formed amidst the chaos.